Hey everyone, another episode of Daily Footy and Other Sports with Taz, yours truly, of course, and Sean, who's really trying to promote his love for Borough today. I think it's the only thing he owns related to Borough. Do you not have a Borough shirt or anything?
I've got a child size Borough kit, so
I
unfortunately I can't wear it. As a grown man, I can't wear that.
So
But
you basically just thought I'm gonna I'm gonna buy a shirt as a child, but not have an adult one. Okay.
well, I can tell briefly why. It's because we spoke about it yesterday about chairmans. It was when we got to the UEFA Cup final, 2006. There was only one kit available, and as an I was,
And they've not been selling them ever since. Yeah, I know. Um, but I'm kidding. But that might be true. But right. So we've got a couple of things. We always have something to talk about. Today we're gonna quickly start off with more sad news. There seems to be a lot of this going around, isn't it? Sadly, a couple of days ago, snooker legend Willie Thorne was diagnosed with leukemia. Um, and he's currently, I think, in Spain trying to get chemotherapy. It's one of the best places he could have gone, I think, for the process to be done. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if the current generation knows him quite as well. Obviously, if you're an avid snooker fan like myself, you know who he is. But I can only just sort of say, well, I hope his chemo goes as smoothly as possible, and he's back commentating whenever the snooker season starts up again. So yeah, get well soon, Willie. We'll,
the
we'll see you soon, buddy. Um, yeah, but we've also got well, we will kick off properly, I guess, with some more delightful coronavirus-related things. No, them a few of you may have seen. There are a couple of reports that have been posted onto various platforms like BBC and Sky Sports, among others, where you can see an analysis of certain players' experiences with it, whether they've actually experienced it themselves directly or whether they've maybe indirectly experienced it through someone very close to them. Some of you may have seen the new report regarding Alessandro Favalli,
yeah.
the Juve player. I think he's the second one from Juve actually to have contracted it after, was it Regano or something? And I know, Sean, you've been doing a little bit of research on this. What have you got to say about this? I mean, it's quite an in-depth report, if I remember right, but you've delved into it an awful lot more than I have, so I'll hand the floor to you. Go for it.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. First time I've been praised in that manner. So honestly, seriously, it is quite an intriguing read because he was the second player in Italy that was diagnosed as having being infected with the disease of coronavirus, tested positive. He has to live in isolation. He's living with his partner Miriam. So he would talk about even conditions where his eyes would be burning. Imagine that. As we're still not self-isolating, people partying even last night, unfortunately. So he talks about his experience of being very difficult, not just physically, mentally, because you're going through this condition and you can't really be interacting with other people without putting them at risk themselves. So he's been living with his wife at the same time, going through this experience of fevers, high fevers, but his eyes burning, and some unspeak is very difficult conditions. But he would also advise that even to survive, him and his wife would split rich regions of the whole household they would stay in. So his wife would even prepare his meals and then leave it by his door because she can't even go towards her husband Favalli to even provide the meal to him. So it would just be simple things, knocking on the door, and then he would come and receive it, not being able to talk to her physically. I'm sure, like how it's communicating right now, me and Taz, there's FaceTime, but it's still difficult when you're unable to talk with your loved ones. And at the same time, he was also worried about passing it on to his wife. So the good thing about this article, it's on bbc.co.uk. It talks about...
Although you lost it for a moment, didn't you?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
lost
And
For the record, guy, he couldn't find the article for a while. I had to actually discover it for him again, so he's got it now.
You are the human suplex machine. You just human suplex me and then took me out of Dad's mission.
I
But
just
anyway,
know how to use a search function. That's all. Um, go for
that,
it. Sorry.
yeah, it's a really good article to just talk about the experience if anyone may unfortunately also contract this coronavirus, and how you'd have to go with your daily life and to make sure you do not pass it on to anyone else. And best thing is to remain calm, because Favalli is an example of someone who's contracted it, and thank goodness so far, and hopefully in the long-term future will stay with us.
Yeah. No, I mean, coincidentally, I mean, even before you sort of you mentioned Favalli yesterday, and right at the end of the video, you squeezed it in, didn't you? Coincidentally, I mean, as I was sort of turning off my TV last night, I actually spotted, I think I was on BBC News 24 or something like that. You know, if you're on late night on BBC One or something, they'll just show you some news clips, and they were showing sort of a mini documentary of a couple that's sort of been faced with a similar sort of situation in Wuhan. You know, obviously they've been affected with it more immediately than everybody else, and you know the husband obviously being forced to prepare the meals like you just said, wearing gloves, you know, wearing clothes that um, were you know, just trying to protect him as much as possible, and his wife sadly sort of, you know, curled up in bed, you know, in absolute agony, and it's just it is incredibly difficult. So all I can say, you know, to all of us, you know, just try to be sensible and be safe and look after yourselves in advance. I'm sure you all are anyway, but you know, it does also sort of. I know you look like you're about to say something else, but you know, it will also you know, help me move on to the topic we're going to discuss next, which is Charlie Austin. But you know, you've got something else to say, I think.
It's actually a very good point that you're talking. That I forgot to mention. We did talk about people providing food. Apparently, some people have said it doesn't affect their appetite. Some flu symptoms have shown that people aren't hungry or when they've got a temperature or cold. So that's another thing. I want to quickly elaborate on, and let's move on to the Charles Austin, ex-QPR guy.
Well, I mean, neither of us have any association to QPR, so I don't know why you're getting so excited. But what I will say though is, I mean, the first thing I read when I read an article about him was simply the words "Don't take it lightly." You know, it's quite a statement, really, isn't it? I didn't really. He's basically currently experiencing some of the symptoms. I don't believe he's actually truly got it,
Yeah.
or that he's just experienced some of the symptoms and he's sort of understanding the severity of the situation. Unfortunately, one of the reasons he probably may have suffered the symptoms is because he was one of the maybe 250,000 odd people who went to the Cheltenham Festival, I think, recently, which for some odd reason, a 3-day event or so, wasn't it? And it still went ahead. They've consequently cancelled everything else, including the national, which is the correct thing to do, of course. But I beggars belief why they didn't cancel the Cheltenham Festival as well. You know, it's a really, really risky scenario. The whole point is, you know, initially it was we don't want more than 1,000 people in one place. Then it became we don't want more than 500 people in one place, and then it became we don't want anyone there,
Yeah.
you know, at all. And they were risking 250,000 times that figure over a 3-day period, which is hugely alarming. So I mean, you know, just to reiterate the point that we just made regarding Alessandro Favalli, it's it's right that these events are being cancelled, but I don't understand why they're taking quite as long to be cancelled. And you know, just everybody just, you know, be sensible. That does include your shopping, of course.
No,
Let's all
exactly.
not overdo it.
Yeah, and another thing that like what Charlie Austin was talking about, and for Valley in his case as well, these aren't just regular people. No offense to people like me and you. These are sportsmen that train regularly that in order to make a living. These are footballers that are very healthy, very fit, and they are more fit than most men, and they weren't able to avoid the symptoms, and they were made to suffer. So it shows that do not feel that your age will mean that you can get away with it. It's not just the elderly and the people with underlying symptoms. It could be other people as well that are prone to coronavirus.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, they're not robots. They are human beings, and there's absolutely no reason to take any additional risks to sort of throw them into a situation where they could get it. That's why yesterday you and I really debated what was going on with the whole wrestling thing. The fact that they're still going on. The only reason they haven't stopped it yet is because, for example, Chris Jericho hasn't got it in AEW, or Brock Lesnar. Well, he's never there anyway. I don't know. Somebody who's Drew McIntyre hasn't got it in WWE or something like that, or and it's only when a particular name seems to get it, whether they're a big name or not, unless they've actually somebody gets it, they only then would they sort of think, well, I think we'll call it a day for the moment, and it shouldn't really be like that. Why take the risk,
One actually just spoke about him. They've changed the dates of they changed the theme of their next following AEW event that's going to happen, the weekly Dynamite shows. They're going to have a special themed show next week, but because of the coronavirus, they've wanted to tone it down a bit. And to elaborate furthermore, even yesterday it was confirmed that WWE will be doing pre-taping recordings of Raw and SmackDown for the foreseeable future, heading towards WrestleMania, which may also be pre-taped as well. So, as you said, things are rapidly changing in wrestling, and that could even be left to a whole different episode.
I mean, this is the weird thing, though. I mean, why do they seem to think that pre-recording is making a jot of difference to the whole scenario?
Because, yeah, it's true.
But why? Because you're still. It's a pre-recording. It's still being recorded. It's still going to be aired. It's all you're doing is you're doing it earlier than you would have done. It's making absolutely no difference at all. My firm opinion is literally just stop. Just call it a day. Everybody just stay safe and don't take any chances. Stop playing with fire like that.
Florida is badly hit. New York has been critically hit. So, and they're forming at Performance Center in Florida, Orlando, Florida. So they should definitely, as you said, call it a day for now. But this is current planning right now. And as you said, if someone else falls victim to it, they may very well have to delay it. They've even announced the different match cards for day 1 and day 2. Be Brock Lesnar and Drew McIntyre in the first one. Or should I talk about the match day card, or we can just leave that to another day?
Yeah, I mean, if they do truly seem to feel like they are going to go ahead with it, we can probably do like a preview if we want to, I guess, right before it. But we've got so much to talk about that we can't even squeeze into today's show. So, which is great. We know that's exactly where we want to be. We want to be in a position where we can discuss everything. But I'm going to mix a bit of football and politics now, and what we're going to talk about quickly. It's Rishi Sunak, who, if I said that right, it's Sunak, isn't it? Who's obviously, a lot of us are aware that they're trying to pay or give about 80% of salaries or something, aren't they? It is good, to be fair.
Very good. Very, very good. For a conservative government, this is groundbreaking. Groundbreaking for a conservative government.
For them, yeah. I mean, they the government aren't necessarily known for always coughing up to help everyone, but it does also sort of tie in, because we're a sports channel, of course. It does tie in nicely with the fact that the Tranmere owner or chairman, I think it was, wasn't it? I've forgotten his name. I wrote it down and I forgot it was. It's not an obvious name either, so I feel a bit annoyed that I've forgotten who it was.
It collaborates with what we were talking about beforehand. How are clubs going to
Mark Palios, that's his name. Tranmere owner. There we go. I put them all in one section, so it was very quick to find. But yeah, Mark Palios, he basically, he sort of said, well, EFL clubs must ensure that their clubs don't abuse various loans that have been provided and assistance that they're getting, things like that. I think that's their way of basically just saying, well, if you are being given a certain amount of money, don't just sort of milk the situation or something like that. Don't take more than you need. It's kind of the scenario we're in right now, really, isn't it? I mean, even when we go shopping, just take what you absolutely need. Try not to overdo it, because ultimately, whether we like it or not, one of the few sets of businesses that are going to be kind of profiting from the whole horrible scenario we're in right now are the supermarkets, because there'll be a really, really high demand for things like that. So people don't have to rush for it, because they're always refilling, they're always restocking. I did see a bit of a kind of crazy old video that you and I both got forwarded from our friend, who basically showed people standing alongside one of the fire exit doors, where staff members were readying big boxes with to restock a certain section, and then as soon as the doors started to open, people just sort of flocked on them like it was some sort of zombie movie. It was crazy to see, but it is exactly what's been going on. I mean, I think somebody was standing outside a Savers, one of those shops, and then somebody else just literally ran past them and nabbed one of their packets of tissue. That's just the nature of how some people have been reacting, and it's not right. Not right.
But I would also like to say the other good thing about what's good that Rishi Sunak has done. It relates to what we were talking about a few days ago, when we spoke about the Gillingham owner being petrified about how clubs can survive, and wanting the Premiership clubs and the FA to support these clubs, to support the EFL clubs. So it's a great initiative. I'm a Labour fan. Everyone can be wherever they want, but it's just Rishi Sunak deserves a lot of plaudits, and even Boris Johnson. His wife is pregnant. He's having daily meetings. Kudos to him, whether we like him or not. I've insulted him before when talking about rugby. Kudos to him. Kudos to the government. Finally, now doing the right measures to help the population of the UK.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sometimes from a certain perspective you can sort of say, well, why does something really bad have to happen before everyone just sort of pulls together properly? But I'd rather they helped and everyone did pull together, rather than just sort of sat back and did nothing at all. So exactly. Well done to everyone to that extent, I guess.
Yeah. More than politics, it's about life, and that's why no matter which background we are, we all have to accept that Boris is our leader, and he's doing right now. He's doing good stuff right now, given the plaudits that they all deserve currently for doing the right thing.
Yeah, but it's interesting actually. It's rather weird that we've got a link between politics and sport as well, because honestly speaking, most countries, you may recall, cancelled their relevant football, for example, because their government imposed it pretty promptly when they saw an issue. Whereas our government took an awfully long time to do that, and it was actually the FA that actually put their foot down first, and they started cancelling football. Not completely. I think the government sort of put an end to it, but there were more leagues and more matches and teams and stuff like that being called off, thanks to what the FA did. So at least they got things going, and that was really a good thing from them. Yeah, come on, government, sort it out. But
very good point you said, because I think that's probably another reason why we're suddenly praising Rishi Sunak and Boris for doing the right thing. As you said, the FA for many years of not the greatest leadership themselves, but they have been the front runners of addressing societal issues, including racism. When you had the Bulgarian-England match, racist English fans, there was the FA addressing the issue. So it's brilliant that you mentioned that as well. I didn't want to attack the FA and just praise the government. It was just at this delicate timings that we're going through, just giving everyone their plaudits, that's all.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an awkward time that I'm sure we'll go back to our normal ways of making fun of these relevant people, but All you can ask for them in this particular period of time, is to sort of do the right things right now, and as far as we're aware, they are sort of starting to do that, so that's good. What is that? What have we got, a game there?
Computer games, if you binge with 99p only. If not, I had it for long years. Just my niece
But
gave it.
what are you doing? This isn't eBay. We're not. This isn't a shopping channel. Um, Ignore that, everyone. You didn't see that at all. I know you're in a bit of a got a bit of a time frame today for you, so you've got about 15 minutes or so. So what we'll do is we'll move on to transfers, because I know you in particular have got an awful lot you want to sort of say about the transfer rumours. Two that you particularly wanted to.
I'll leave the Man United one to you. I'll leave the Man United transfer rumor to you. We do one each, go back and forth. Like a rowing boat, like that.
Yeah, I'll wait. Well, I'll mention the two rumours, and I'll talk about one of them, and you'll have the other one. I mean, obviously, two big names are mentioned right now, and they are forwards, of course, is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Neymar. I'll let you start with Neymar, because you've been following that one a little bit more in the last couple of days.
So, as we were speaking about beforehand about other clubs trying to find ways to reduce the wages of players, Barcelona are apparently, according to Mundo Deportivo, are planning to slash the wages of all their playing staff by 50%. This is a big thing to mention in particular. It's understandable when you just think about the situation of the coronavirus, lack of match day tickets income, lack of TV broadcast revenue. However, then Barcelona are apparently also negotiating a deal for a player that costs a lot of money, in which they had to go and get a loan to buy another player, Antoine Griezmann, in the first place. So it makes you really question the leadership of that club that has been criticised by many people, including Pep Guardiola, Dani Alves, and Neymar himself. So the fact that they really want to go for a guy worth 200 million, although some reports beforehand said
Worth is a strong word.
It just beggars belief, and
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're in such a tough predicament right now, financially, and then are you doing it for the right reasons of trying to maybe even support the non-playing staff by having money available for them, or are you trying to get money in order to be the Spanish PSG of trying to then splash the cash on players that even if Suarez is getting a bit old, you still got such luxury. We saw that with how they got the ex-Middlesbrough player, Brandwife, and it's just unfair.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's just weird that there's a couple of things with Barca actually. First and foremost, I said to you a couple of years ago, he'll regret leaving. I've been calling a few of these right actually. I said he'll regret leaving Barcelona for PSG because clearly he wanted to go to PSG to be the main man. He wasn't, because I think he didn't just want to be the main man in the team. I think he wanted to be the main man on the planet. There was no way he was going to surpass Ronaldo and Messi. They're probably starting to slowly, I don't want to say deteriorate because they're still both high quality players, but they're both starting to sort of, maybe head down on a downward curve now. But he was never going to surpass them while they were still active players, was he? So I mean, and he loved playing at Barcelona. It was just his ego that sent him towards PSG, and his obsession with trying to be the main man, which he wasn't going to be. Yeah, main man maybe at PSG, but I bet, you know what? I bet if there was a poll, I bet more people would probably pick Mbappe as the main man over him, certainly in Paris.
Because no one really predicted how much Mbappe would reach his potential so quickly. He did well in Monaco, but he just continuously improved himself. Neymar's injury didn't help, and he just got the opportunity to surpass him.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, where I will applaud Neymar is I thought he was absolutely fantastic in La Liga, and that's one of the more competitive leagues. You know, the French league isn't necessarily taken quite as seriously. Um, there was a period actually that Lyon was dominating. A lot of people forget that. You know, PSG have come back into prominence because of all their owners, of course. But and now nobody's really that close to them. A few people have gotten near them recently, but then they've always pulled away, and then they've strolled miles and miles away into the distance.
Mbappe's Monaco, ironically.
Hmm?
Mbappe's Monaco, ironically, got close to PSG, took over
Well,
them, and then the
that's
players stripped away.
convenient. He probably just put in a good word and put in a word and said, "Guys, come on, lay off now." But no, I mean, and it's just weird that he'd be coming back almost with his his head between his legs, almost saying, "Look, guys, I'm really sorry. I probably shouldn't have left. I regret it. It's going to cost you an awful lot of money, but please take me back." Um, that's and for that very simple reason, I'm not sure it will happen. But Barcelona, you could argue, have had a few players recently that might, in their eyes, have considered failed signings. Like, sadly, Ousmane Dembele has not worked out. Um, Even Coutinho, who's technically on loan, I think he's done really well at Bayern Munich, but they actually didn't want to. I don't think they wanted to buy him though. I don't think they wanted to make the loan a permanent deal. So he might be going back to Barcelona. Whether that's the right fit for him or not, I don't know.
I never
But
wanted it. They wanted Leroy Sané, who's just silly to even want to go to Bayern Munich. But anyway, they couldn't get Sané because of his injury, and because Sané was unavailable, and they could only find a few targets. They had to make one big signing in Coutinho, who doesn't even fit the new manager's tactics as well.
yeah, well, I think he's been really good in Munich. To be honest with you, you can just see the intricacies of his passes and his skills. Um, I think a lot of
They,
Liverpool fans will say the same. They saw that at Liverpool before he left. That Barcelona fans haven't just seen that in the same way. Um, but interesting that you mentioned Barcelona. This wasn't even on our agenda, but it just triggered something in my memory actually.
that's how we
What
are.
did?
We are.
Huh?
Because we're not just about providing news, we're here about
Yeah.
providing opinion. If we're
Well, yeah.
providing, that's boring.
It's,
We want to talk about our views, opinions, and people that love the sports, and that's what we're all here for. And the people watching as well, you're the same. You like to elaborate our views. We've just thought we just bring it to you guys during this isolation period.
well, yeah.
Simple.
Well, I mean, it's actually about it is about Barcelona again. It's about Braithwaite. Remember that
Yeah,
name?
yeah.
Um,
I
are you,
pronounce
you
it.
you're gonna know. You know the question is already. What are your thoughts? Do you agree? No, wait. What are you doing on the Riverside again? Do you agree with La Liga's La Liga's rule to sort of have an emergency signing because
So,
that's exactly what he was.
so here's another predicament before I answer that. Tebas loves to hate Premiership teams were having inflated financial power. He loves to hate PSG. He calls them state-powered nations. However, when it comes to Real Madrid and to Barcelona, he just stays quiet. He doesn't really criticize them. Real Madrid spent £300 million in one transfer market window. That's more than PSG or Man City have done in one transfer window.
Which is saying a
Barcelona
lot.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
Barcelona were able to sign a player from a club struggling to stay in La Liga. And that club had to make a request to Tebas and to the authorities of La Liga if they can make an emergency signing. And guess what happened? This is why my answer had to be a bit dragged on. They said no to the lower club, yes to the bigger club.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but at the same time, both the player and the club could say no. But I think the player himself knows that kind of chance isn't going to come around ever again. And from a more direct personal perspective, I could say exactly the same about Igalo. I
Yeah.
mean, raise your hand if you didn't know that he was a United fan before there were rumours about him on the final penultimate day. Yeah, me too. Me too. I
Yeah.
didn't. Nobody had seen those photos, but then they were there.
Maybe
And
maybe like local Nigerian fans that he's a role model to, but not many other fans. Or maybe the Watford media made sure that no one else found out about it.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean, I know he was sort of vaguely linked to him, but not properly. It's quite loosely linked to him when he was at Watford, but nothing concrete, nothing really materialised. And maybe his scoring rate wasn't quite as amazing as you would have liked. You're kind of hoping for like 20 to 30 goal, that kind of impact, and go, wow, we got to have this guy. It's very hard to do that in the Premier League, to be fair, but it's no surprise that the really, really high quality players like Aguero, like Kane, like Salah, like Mane, even to an extent Sterling, I think, has flirted with that as well. And Rashford would have done if Rashford would have surpassed that milestone had he still been fit. He still might, he only needs one goal. But
Sterling too, mate. Sterling too, bro. Sterling too.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, he's fit and he's not performing well. So,
I just
what's
love
his
the
what's
anchor.
what's his defense? But no, I mean,
The anchor, by the way, I love doing the anger. So as soon as I said Sterling, guys, pause it when I said Sterling. Pause seeing his facial expression. He went.
well, it's more my query. My argument was one's injured and one's not. So, and he's
Yeah.
still. So, he's just having a poorer season. If any, there've been arguments about whether certain players deserve to go to the Euros, which is obviously now happening next year. And now that they've been moved, players that are injured, you're now thinking, crikey, they might not have been in the best of shape had it actually happened this year, so they've now got another year. And in the same breath, you've got players like Greenwood, Mason Mount, Hudson-Odoi, Saka at Arsenal, all these youngsters who are just, they've come from nowhere pretty much. And Nketiah, I think he's English as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Tammy Abraham, who's actually not, he's not been in a major tournament himself, as good as he's been playing. All of a sudden, these youngsters have got another year to mature and hone their game a bit more, and they might actually be more in the reckoning next year. It won't be as big a joke if Greenwood matches his tally this year or surpasses it next year. You won't be sitting there going, he's a bit young and inexperienced. You'll be thinking, hang on a minute, kid did all right last season and he's backed it up this season. He's a genuine selection headache. So it's weird how it's sort of.
I remember, like, sorry to disturb you there, but I just want to say this is a genuine perception that Taz have had, especially about Mason Greenwood for a long time. Even when the Euros was meant to happen this year, February and January, we would have this discussion, especially when Kane got injured. Who would be the fourth man if you can't get Vardy to come out of retirement and with Kane injured? And he said Mason Greenwood would be his fourth man, but not in the position that Theo Walcott was. Yeah. You spoke about that quite vivid a lot.
No, I said I'd like him to be there, but I also said I don't think he's. It would be unfair to force him into that position, and I wouldn't want Southgate to take him like I said with Walcott. I don't want him to take him there for the sake of it. I don't want him to sort of just take him there and then not play him, because to be brutally honest with you, I'm gonna have to slag off Sterling again, I'm afraid. Sterling, if in the BBC ratings, it's pretty unanimous that he did not play that well in the World Cup. There were shining performances all around the team, even from Lingard. I thought it was outstanding. He's a shadow of the man now, but he played really well at the World Cup. But at the same time, he kept putting in bad performances, and I appreciate you've got to keep the team consistent, but it's just easy. It's just one position, and it's an attacking position. So, oh good lord!
There's many videos on YouTube channel again. One thing I to Uncle Tad wants to get involved. Everything's fine. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's ironic that please continue what you wanted to say, and then I can talk. I thought I'd jump on.
It's just oh good lord, what's going on? To me, it made sense that I couldn't blame. Everyone's saying why Vardy should come out of retirement now. Well, I can't blame Vardy for wanting to not wanting to come out of retirement. For me, he was in better form than Sterling going into the World Cup, or just as good form. His scoring rate was fantastic. Rashford was doing pretty darn well, and he gives you so much going forward with his pace and things like that. Sterling was having a really iffy start to the World Cup. Why did both of these guys just get put in the token dead rubber game against Belgium and nothing else?
Well, I would say that Sterling, he didn't do good in the World Cup, but he was part of that revolution, tremendous transformation under Pep Guardiola. He had a bad Euros, and people thought Pep Guardiola would mistreat him. Euros in 2016, and then everyone thought he was going to suffer like Joe Hart, and just Pep Guardiola just transformed the guy. So I think he did merit a chance to play for England, but he just didn't
Question.
deliver.
I mean, the thing is that there are certain players actually for England in the past who have had outstanding seasons for their club, honestly, and he's definitely one of them. But it just never truly works in the international shirt, and sometimes vice versa. Welbeck, not so great in a United shirt. Different man when he played in an England shirt. Peter Crouch sometimes. These guys just seem to have an annoying habit of scoring goals. But
that Welbeck example was great. Welbeck example was good because we were at the thumbnail is of us two appreciating. Yeah, you brought it up. You brought up Danny Welbeck getting the appreciation. Hey, down it. Joking. So Danny Welbeck is another big fan. Taz is a massive fan of Danny Welbeck. Oh, here's a question. He finally gets the chance to play for Watford without being injured. Could he didn't really get the opportunity at Arsenal, and he was unfairly taken away from Man United by LVG. Do you think he would, if he had a good season, he could perhaps be in contention for playing for England again?
I don't think so, if I'm honest. I honestly think he started having a mixture of injuries towards the end of his United playing career, and I still think he had more left in him in a United shirt at the time. But as soon as he left even though he annoyingly scored a winner against United, which was quite annoying, but when he went to Arsenal, he's just, I've barely seen him on the pitch for them, even less so at Watford. So looking back, it's really, really weird because I didn't agree with the sale. But looking back, I can't help but think maybe we did sell him at the right time. I mean, we couldn't have anticipated the kind of injuries he's had, and it's really horrible that it's happened to him. But they have happened, and unfortunately, it's they were largely after he left. So perhaps it was the right time for him to go.
Well, ironically, his last game was against MK Dons when you lost to MK Dons 3-0, and he was by far your best player in that game. And the young Dele Alli dominated your. I do agree with you. He may have had to leave, but because the idea of Falcao, Van Persie, Rooney, Di Maria, although Di Maria is a bit flimsy, but the idea of these four guys seemed so appealing.
Yeah, I mean, because Rooney and Falcao were, the stronger target men, good at hold-up play. Di Maria, very skillful, quick. Welbeck, very quick. Welbeck, unfortunately, was obsessed with trying to score really nice, pretty goals instead of, keeping it simple. Di Maria didn't really want to be there. I think Falcao was just sort of a tiny bit of a cult hero. Maybe it's just me, but it just didn't work. It just didn't work in England in general because he wasn't very good at Chelsea either, was he? It was so weird. I mean, we know how good he is, but sometimes it just doesn't work.
I personally think that Di Maria would have wanted to stay. He said many times he acts like he hates Man United, but it's just because of LVG's management. It just had an issue with South Americans over his career. Rivaldo has said that many times before, and it's just he was played out of position. And come on, at the time, PSG weren't as an appealing side as they may be now, because Zlatan was near the end of his career, although he continued doing well. But there was not that much happening at PSG, and Zlatan, Di Maria came to a Man United side that still had just lost Sir Alex Ferguson and had the appeal of perhaps turning things around. Had a great game against Leicester.
Do you see the way he celebrates his goals though? He, it just sort of gives you kind of like a kind of angry, nasty sort of look. I mean, even when he came back to United with PSG, I don't think the United fans treated him that badly, to be honest.
Of course they did. They're throwing bombs at him. Of course that's bad.
No. I don't think they treated him that badly when he was at the club.
Oh.
But the way he treated them, it was almost like they treated him like dirt the whole time he was there. If anything, he was the one that sort of did that to them. He sort of rocked up for the first 6 or 7 games, played some really lovely stuff. A great goal. I think it was an amazing lob against Leicester. And we still lost that 5-3. But it was just that was all it was. And then it just suddenly shut down as if to say, well, I'm going to leave again this summer anyway, so who cares?
You could even blame Real, because he was the man of the match when they won the Champions League, finally won La Decima, and he just felt mistreated. Maybe the truth be told, he never wanted to leave Real Madrid to go to either Man U or PSG. It's like a player was so forced to leave to sign the new golden boy, James Rodriguez, who's been a massive flop himself. And it just shows how Florentino Perez, another tyrant that Tebes of the Spanish La Liga Federation always ignores. It's just Di Maria was badly managed, shouldn't have left Real Madrid, was forced to go to Man United and forced to go to PSG, just mistreated. And the burglary, we can't ignore that. His house being burgled just made sure that his wife and himself did not want to stay in that area. But there was a French protest happened. Unfortunately, there was a French crisis that happened during the football match, France versus Germany, I believe, the France bombing, and that was even worse than the burglary. So there must have been more to it than just blaming the burglary.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to sort of break down in that one. I'm not sure where to start with that one, really. Actually, I've got nothing. I think you said it pretty well, actually.
I've got a chance to talk about before Taz. Thank you. So before Taz goes on about a Man United transfer link player being a hardcore Red Devil himself,
I'd rather not.
There's a rumor. There was apparently Luka Jovic, part of Real Madrid, was spotted in Serbia partying despite strong recommendations by Real Madrid themselves and by the Serbian government to stay in isolation. This has really angered the Serbian prime minister, and apparently the rumours are suggesting that Chelsea and Tottenham are being offered Luka Jovic because Real Madrid are so upset with his. He's a young player, but his how bad he was, and he was basically being immature, and his immaturity has led to the rumors that he may leave. So that's an interesting piece of gossip I thought I should throw over there in relation to coronavirus.
So you said Tottenham and Chelsea.
Yeah.
So is that your way of basically saying if it was Tottenham, then Real would basically pay Tottenham 100 mil and get Harry Kane coming the other way? Or is that your way of saying Tottenham are interested as an addition? I got it, didn't I?
This is why we love and go on tangents. I didn't even think about that possibility. That is genius.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and then therefore affects you guys as well, who you would go for. And who's that person you may go for instead? Floor is all yours.
I don't really want this one. Yes, of course. There's an absurd rumour. I'll brush this off as fast as possible. There's an absurd rumour that United might want to go for Aubameyang for 35 million. I say no. He's 30. Arsenal are probably going to want an awful lot more than that, even though he's about to be in his final year. And I genuinely think if we're going to get a 30-year-old, I'd probably rather just have a guy who is only going to cost 15 million. He's already here.
That's a good point. You got to save your money in trying to look at other positions, like Jack Grealish.
I mean, the immediate problem that United get is that they seem to be, well, they're always overcharged more than everybody else. City seem to get pretty decent deals, generally speaking. It's worth 5 million or so. It's usually another 10, 20 million added on for us, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like
in Harry's case.
Well, I mean, that might be a bit too low, but I mean, in a general market, it may have been about 50, 60 or something like that. You add about 10 million for the fact that he's a British and it's like the UK tax situation, and another further 10 because they didn't have to let him go. And maybe a little bit more based on the fact that it's United and they can go, well, we know you have the money and we know that you really want this player, so we're going to put our foot down and charge you more. And to be honest, quite rightly as well, they've got every right to sort of say that, haven't they? They don't have any reason to let go of him, so you've got to try to sort of, it's not pretty, but you've got to try getting as much as you can out of a situation like that. But yeah, I mean, my personal opinion is absolutely no. I'm not saying he's not a good player. We know he's a good player. He's he's one of those players that you forget to put in your fantasy football team, and he'll bury a couple of goals every single week, and he'll make you regret it.
There's so many different other factors you can mention as well. Alexis Sanchez, who would have thought he would be so bad for you guys after being so good for Arsenal? So,
yeah, I did. I really did. I mean, I just didn't see it. The only good thing, everyone just kept on saying, well, hey, that's, I said, well, I didn't think Mkhitaryan was that bad. In fact, he was quite important for our Europa League win, wasn't he? But I just thought, well, for the salary that he's getting, absolutely absurd. He's not worth that kind of salary. And he's just so hard to get rid of at the moment. That's the thing. I mean, I just didn't see it. No, I didn't like it at all.
He might play this season. That's another funny part that we could probably discuss in another episode. He's the Red
Devil. He is officially, isn't he? Yeah, but I think I can quickly dismiss that as well. Quite frankly, I mean, I think he wants to stay where he is. He sounds like he's willing to take half his pay cut or something, a pay cut of half what he's on, which is still a ridiculously high amount, but it won't cost anywhere near as much given his age, given the length of his contract. I think that's left, was it maybe 2 years left, I think, at the end of this season. Still quite a lot in the grand scheme of things, but he's still an older player, so it won't cost as much. The big problem with him is the wage bill. That's it. He's the kind of player that sort of causes unrest in the team. And people start thinking, why aren't I on that? Yeah. Well, generally speaking, the blunt answer for why they're not on that is because they're not good enough. And he shouldn't have been on that kind of figure anyway. And the funny thing, and oddly enough, when De Gea got his new contract, he actually got it having not been in the best of form, which is ironic, isn't it?
Mourinho actually laughed at Man United as soon as they made the deal. He said even to Sky Sports as a pundit, Man United got ripped off, and that's quite surprising for a manager to say about their ex-player.
Which ex-player are we talking about this time? Sorry.
De Gea, sorry. So you just spoke about De Gea just getting too much money for his contract, and then on the following week when it was spoken about it on Sky Sports, Mourinho said Man United got conned.
Yeah, well, I think if you're going to pay him that, it would probably have been merited maybe a season or two prior to that, when he wasn't just performing well, he was, consistently player of the season. We've not been in a title shake-up for a long time, but he seems to have been that one consistent name in the player of the year team sheet. It's sort of
Yeah,
like, well, we know he's in goal, so let's just work with whatever we've got left, really.
exactly.
I think that's it's a credit to him that he sort of put in those kind of performances, but he hasn't merited the contract he's on right now. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, do you have any other sort of immediate transfer related things that you'd like to sort of mention, or should we save it
Oh,
for another day?
so another coronavirus-related post I've read is
Good one.
that so even despite the good initiative that Rishi Sunak is suggesting, or not suggesting, implementing, some football league clubs feel that they're more prone to having their players snatched from them for cheaper prices than they could have put these players available for beforehand. That could even impact the Bellingham's sale from Birmingham to go to any of the Premiership teams because clubs need to make as much money as possible. So it's another interesting point to raise that as well.
I think firstly regarding Billing, we know he's going to go one of two places, and given the recent events, I think we know he's going to pick the other one instead. The other one being Dortmund. But I agree with you
Liverpool,
I can't see him going there.
yeah, he shouldn't.
I can't see him going there. I mean, because he's quite a forward-thinking player, and I'm not discrediting the kind of the players that they have at Liverpool. It's just if I'm a player that's got a lot of confidence in myself, like I know Timo Werner's linked to them, well, unless you're basically planning on putting one of Firmino, Mane, or Salah in a kind of cam position, I can't see a top quality striker like Werner saying, right, well, I don't mind being rotated now and again. He's going to demand to start, and I think for that simple reason, unless they're planning on selling one of these guys on, I just can't see how he's a fit for them. And if you look at the subs that they got and strikers, they're sort of like the way United have gone for Igalo at the moment. These guys are sort of like quite happy being subs, quite happy being in this squad. Good environment, like Minamino, like Origi. They're not outstanding, they're not amazing players, but they're solid enough, and they'll be happy to do a job. Whether that continues to that stage of their career is another matter. But that comes with players gaining more and more experience, and in their eyes, putting in performances that they feel deserve more credit for, or more starting performances for. I just don't see Werner responding that way. But what I would quickly like to add is, I know you said lower league clubs are going to have to sort of accept the amount to sell players for less. The flip side to that is, I think clubs will also have less to spend because of the current financial crisis as well. So, you could argue like what value is this player going to be, but at the same time, how much can the other club who wants to buy them realistically actually offer?
Exactly.
Is it suddenly less than they would have been able to offer? I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to work out how some of these things work, but
But that's why we're here. That's why we can talk about it more and more because we're in isolation for a while. This thing's drag on for another 2 hours.
I think for the sake of everybody's sanity, we will call it a day today.
But
If
can I
Oh,
mention one more thing? It's
you
a
always
non
do. Every time I'm about to call it a day, you're like, I've got another one. Go on.
That's
One more.
how we are. So it's a non-transfer related conversation topic. Um, as before we began this conversation, me and Taz just read up together on BBC that Robert Lewandowski has heroically donated €1 million in the fight to support charities that may need support in dealing with patients that have contracted coronavirus. So I wanted to give a good props towards him. For both of us want to give props towards him, and keep on the fight, everybody.
Yeah, and I think Wilf Zaha as well has made a number of his houses or something available for people to use as well in this, particular situation. I don't know how he's got so many houses. I mean, what kind of business is he doing on the side? But absolutely lovely, gestures and kind things are being done, because ultimately it is your top tier teams and players in particular that are in a position to sort of be able to give direct help, either directly to the staff involved with the club they're at, or indeed the community around them. And I think it's very easy to say, you guys should do it, but it's really heartwarming to see them actually doing it as well. And I think that is a very nice point to sort of end for the day. So yeah, I think Sean and I will be back probably tomorrow, I think, aren't we? And yeah, we will leave it here for today, and hope you guys have a lovely evening. And please leave all your comments below. We love your comments. We love your questions. Stop trying to market everything, Sean. You're ruining it.
If anyone wants to play this game with me sometime, just let me know. After the isolation, though.
I think it's fair to say the isolation's really got to his head, so he's getting very lonely. But no, please everyone, leave your comments if you've got any questions or queries or even issues with anything that we've discussed, and or something you'd like us to talk about, or even if you feel like you'd like to be involved with one of our calls, we'd be delighted to sort of include you on one of our chats. Yeah, we can add people in. Yeah, if you can be another little extra window, and we'd love to take your call one of these days. So yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy, guys.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully we'll.
Yeah, see you later, guys.